hard to put up. Could have been,
So that if there's
beneficial.
any damage, that we
Yeah.
have something to hang on to.
yeah,
Not a
just a
bad idea.
question.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, they get their money back as long as the garbage is picked up and whatever. Thank you.
That, now, it should be part of the fee structure.
Right,
We
yeah,
establish
yeah,
a fee structure.
Very good.
Thank you.
So, page one. Under,
Same document?
Yep.
yes, under authority. Sorry, page two, responsibility for approval of use. Should be done by the board.
Yeah.
Well, you were right, page 1 too.
Or can you say the board or their designee? Or do we need to approve every single one of them? Do you want that?
Yeah, because they come every month, yeah, and then they're in, and then,
Okay.
yeah, we do it in May, what they need in June, and then we know what's going on. and- Yeah,
So you need to change on page 1 also under authority? Because that does say,
Yes.
You have to-
You'll just have to state the board shall permit the use of school facilities.
yeah, just do a little word
So
stuff.
that will be removed there.
Then you need to change that 2-week to a 4-week notice, because the board only meets once a month,
good idea.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I mean, technically, I think that would catch most of them if you do it.
Gives them that time to get it in, and then, as long as they don't need it a week later or something like that, just in case the board is,
Well, technically, it should be 5 weeks. And so
Could
we
be, I
can
was
see
gonna
that
say
the
a
work
month.
session- It should
5
be 5
weeks.
weeks, we should see.
Yeah,
it
so-
at the
so-
work
Yeah,
session
5 weeks
prior
is
to
what
the-
it has to be, because there'll be, you know, sure enough, they'll submit the day after our.
Yeah, you're right.
Right, you're right.
I got one other thing I want to talk about in this use policy. That's the prohibition against, religious services. I don't understand why we would prohibit the use of the building for religious services. Paul and Paupack has a church that meets there. Homefield had one in the past. I've been in churches across the country, and there's been a relationship between churches and schools since the inception of the country. Why do we want to prohibit that? I don't understand it.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
they
think
should have the right to
that's-
utilize it just like any other
That's
group.
page 1 of 6 at the bottom. It's, my guess is it came from buying a boilerplate. It's just, it was there.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
The models.
But my guess is there's probably a prohibition against the other places that do it. Because no one thinks about it.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, if somebody had a guest speaker coming in, they expected several hundred people, and they wanted to use the auditorium, I would object to that.
But does anyone object to getting rid of that?
I don't object.
Thank you, David.
Couple more, you'll be starting over with that.
It's outdoors as well.
That one's an elimination, so that was easy.
Very powerful.
Just kidding.
Okay,
I'll update this.
And then we'll get a look
Yeah,
at it.
for Monday. You'll get it Friday.
And-
Okay, thank you.
and again, as much as we want to keep this moving along, if you have a serious concern over this, make the motion and just accept that item. You know, make the motion as listed, accepting item 819 or whichever policy. If it gets a second, then we'll vote on it that way. If it doesn't, then we'll move on for a motion to approve all of them. But we do need to keep this process moving along. I don't.
And the current practice will not change though, until this becomes adopted.
Right.
So that's at least
this is only the first reading, right?
June
But,
24th.
but again, I don't wanna hold up all of it and get a no vote because of one item there. If you feel strongly that one of those policies don't meet with your standards or desires, then just make the motion accepting that particular item and we'll iron it out. Okay?
Just one other thing real quick. Are we gonna, you're gonna sit down with Mr. Lynn, or who's gonna sit down with Mr. Lynn to address the situation and cancel them out for the rest of the month? And so the board is working on getting new language and the.
Well, he doesn't even have to know that.
He doesn't have to know.
It's being retracted due to the behavior that's being recorded and,
You're right.
Until our investigation is done.
yeah.
Ah, secret squirrel. All right.
All right.
That was a lot, that was a lot. They thought they took long with
And
that.
now in our second hour, we're gonna move to the next item.
Let's do that then.
All right,
Number 17, summer transportation contracts.
are these different on one and two? I started on the wrong draft.
No, the contracts
Okay,
that did
so
not
they're all
change.
the same.
They're the same.
Okay. And these are
These are for extended school year,
as needed.
as needed.
Some will change.
They will change, yeah, and there'll probably be, there may be a change between now and Monday. There will certainly be a change between now and June 24th,
Right.
and so on and so forth. And there'll probably be transportation contracts on here from ESY retroactive in August. I mean, it's just, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
18 federal programs allocations. This is an annual motion that just makes you, the board, aware and allows us to open the application so that we can apply for federal funding through Title I and Title II. So we do that every year. And then Ellen and Rose fill out the app. And then it goes from there. And we get an allocation.
Less money every year.
And it's less than one year.
And it is less.
Yeah.
At least, and then in October, there'll be a 10% cut, and then in December, there'll probably be another 5 or 10% cut. And there you go. And in February, we'll get the money that we needed in September. That's just how it
That's
is.
just the way
Give the
it
kids
is.
something.
Yeah.
The kids are the ones that, you know,
Head Start agreement, recommending that the board approve their joint educational partnership between the district and Scranton-Lackawanna Human Development Agency. The Head Start agreement supports pre-K. Doesn't supplant services, but provides funding for other things like we fund some aids through it, and supplies and things like that. So it's definitely a good thing for us. Early intervention assurance, again, recommending that the board approve the early intervention assurance for the operation of special ed services and programs for the 15-16 program year. This just says we're going to operate EI and we're going to follow the law. And another annual.
We had an MOU drop on 20, on the original draft I just think we should have. We had an MOU with, for special education with Wayne Highlands, Bob Paxton.
Yeah, it's 21 on the new agenda.
Oh, okay.
It
Oh,
just
okay.
moved the spot.
I see it, gotcha.
It'll probably go back to 20, you were gonna do Jeff after the.
In fact, it's next.
We're moving them up.
Yeah,
It's next.
I see it now, I'm sorry, yep.
Recommending the Board of Education approve the Special Education Memorandum of Understanding. This is another annual among the Wayne Highlands, Walden, Hallback area, and Western Wayne school districts. This basically says that we're going to continue to operate our consortium. 22, another annual, or no, biannual MOU. Among the Wayne District, the DA, and the Pennsylvania State Police. Okay, and 23 is another annual, I think the last one we have on here. This is an MOU between the IU and the district for Title III for the 2015-16 school year. Title III is a federal program that provides monies to school districts for English language learners, for children whose first language is not English. So kids who come to us who are from other places and don't speak English or didn't speak it originally. if you receive fewer than X number of dollars, and I think the number is somewhere around $10,000, you're required to join the local consortium through IU. And what happens with all those districts that receive those small amounts of money, the money's filtered and funneled through the IU to us. So we use the IU every year. 24, school lunches. Recommending that the board approve the meal prices for 15-16 school year as listed. Breakfast is, the cost remains the same. The lunches are up slightly from last year. Elementary at $2.15, middle and high at $2.55, adult at $3.25. Those are the lunch prices for the 15-16 school year. I know, having talked to Maria recently and Rose about this, last year we were audited and that audit went well. There are a lot of new regulations that require our food service folks to serve X number of certain kinds of fresh fruits and vegetables, and there's a lot of different new requirements related to that. That causes lunches to be more expensive. So I think that in the future, what we're going to see is probably a more steady, unfortunate increase in.
Do we see our garbage going high or two or not?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Really?
That's a good question, David. I don't think so, but the person that asked that question really would be Maria. She would know. She would know.
I just had a question on the reduced prices didn't go up though, correct? From last year?
No, I don't think so.
What was the increase for the lunches?
15 cents at each level. And
that's
that
just
is all
because
actually-
that's a federal regulation?
Yeah, that's part of the regulations too. Over a 2-year period, you have to raise a certain percentage. And it's based on your meal consumption and your,
You have to raise it?
yes, it is a requirement,
That's why I just
so.
said what I said.
And
Yeah,
we
yeah,
didn't-
yeah, but
We didn't do it
I
last
understand the
year.
necessity if you know, to meet it, but the necessity to raise as well.
That is part of the new regulations, yes.
So they want us to feed children, but they want to raise the cost up constantly now.
Well, and you know, really, I mean, we want this unit to operate in the black, of course, but we've been doing breakfast long before any other local district. And that's been
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
asset
Yeah,
to our
it has
district.
been. Yes, because children unfortunately come in
Yes.
And the increase is only on the lunch prices, not on the breakfast, the requirements.
And again,
Decides to reduce lunch price.
Between Maria Lataka and I, and the, I think there's state guidelines also, but her and I usually meet each year and go through all of the.
Do you have a percentage off the top of your head, how many actually have reduced lunch?
Free and reduced, we're probably across the district about 50%.
Yeah.
Close, some of the buildings are a little bit higher and some of them are a little below.
It fluctuates plus or minus 3 from 50. across the district.
Yeah.
Thank you.
47, 53, 48, 52, it depends on the.
15% increase on a free lunch, how much is that?
That's a PSSA question.
use the new Maricopa.
Yeah. Should we show the work for that too, David?
That goes into that 1.9%. Somebody else picks up the real work.
Oh, man.
That's the estate. Oh, I do. French teacher.
Oui, oui.
We're done with the field house project.
Oh, yeah, right. I didn't think that, thank you, now I did.
I went over,
Yeah,
I went over this too.
All right,
Okay, 125, agreement for data processing services. This is our student information system that we contract through CSIU, which is Central Susquehanna Meeting Unit, including attendance, transportation, health, discipline, scheduling, and grade book, and the associated costs. And you look at the bottom there, the approximate total cost of $50,600. Just to show you, we know, we literally can't operate without this, because what this system does is interfaces with PIMS, the Pennsylvania Information Management System, and that's how we get our subsidy. So this system has to be spot on and communicate with the other system, so we essentially can get paid. And,
If we get paid, right?
well, good point, but yeah,
Yes.
but historically we have, so we wanna keep doing that.
Better late than never, right?
So, we need this, that's the bottom line, and CSIU has been pretty good over the years, and a lot of local districts still use that program.
The prices remained pretty much the same. The personnel piece had a slight few cent increase, but they've added quite a few new processes for us with the Affordable Care Act, the Obama insurance. There's a lot of new requirements we have with the IRS, and they've created new reporting and new software for us to use under personnel to be able to do those reports without having to manually input data into reports. So I think that was the reason that went up just a few cents per student. But the overall cost actually is down a little bit from this current year, because the number of students we have, it's based on the number of students. So our student count has gone down a little, so the overall cost has gone down a little.
Okay, 26 and 27, we're gonna talk about together. I don't have motion language on there, because right now it's kind of conceptual, but we had talked about months ago. We had a one-time revenue from the sale of Lake, or from the transfer of Lake from the district to the township. And that was one-time money. We talked about the dire need here at the high school for either and/or a dump truck and/or a pickup truck with a plow package, like a 250 series pickup. The 250 series pickup with the plow right now that we have is 1997, and it's tired. That was one piece, and talk about using that money for that. And then the other piece was to put a playground finally at Evergreen, because we haven't one put there. We have $10,000 donation from the pipeline company, which was very generous. And we wanted to use a portion of those dollars to go into investing in that playground. I looked at the numbers, because we have some old numbers. And approximately, I think the truck, and we're gonna get a price from Gibbons, which is a CoStarz provider. If we use the state contract provider, we can.
We don't have to
bid
bid it, we
process.
can just.
We pay more.
We-
This is the way anything the state has to do. We always talk, and I hate to interrupt, but
That's okay.
when we don't use this, when we didn't have to use the state, we were saving money all the time. Everything the state's involved with, who you buy from to get a deal is usually never a good deal. I don't know if there's any other way around it, so.
Well, the
The only
other,
other way is to
Is the
bid
bid.
it.
the bid-
You have to bid it, and then, you know, you have the bidding cost of the
I
couple
yeah,
$100
I just get so
for the
frustrated
ads
with
and
the
the
state's
paperwork.
scheme and how they pick the certain people that you go deal with, and you're supposed to be getting the best deal, and it's not always the best deal.
I think there might be multiple providers though,
Yeah,
for vehicles. So you
Because
might
the
be able to
truck
get
will-
more than one price,
yeah,
right?
okay.
Isn't there?
There are multiple,
Gibbons is
multiple
a
companies.
Yeah.
Gibbons
yeah,
just became part of the CoStarz program.
Okay.
Before that, because most of the vehicles that we own are Fords.
Cardboard.
But we always dealt with a company out of like Allentown or Harrisburg area, because that was the closest
Okay.
CoStarz. But Gibbons has just been added to the list in the last couple of months. So it's a little closer, we wouldn't have to pay for delivery and things like that. That would be added when we had the
Wayne
transfer
County,
from.
Wayne County Ford's not a part
No,
of it.
they're not part of it right now.
Okay. But it is.
The question is, do we wanna do this? I know it's a one-time, it was one-time money and for a one-time expense. I mean, the playground is an investment, in my opinion. The truck obviously is a depreciating asset, but we gotta have a truck that works, so, I recommend we do it. I think we certainly,
Were kids getting tired of chalk and strings, or what?
Well, they play in the driveway, and I think that playground is definitely needed.
May I ask a question? The playground?
yeah.
How's that gonna change the community? When the playground equipment was at Lake Ariel, you know, everybody from Lake Ariel will just come and play. Are you going to allow the people to just come to the Evergreen School and use the equipment? at
I
any
would
time?
hope so.
No.
I mean, I don't
Absolutely.
know, I would
I don't
hope
see
so, that's our
why
vision, I
not.
mean.
They're doing way more.
Everyone goes up there, rides their bikes and
Yeah.
stuff like that now, so.
I don't see anyone.
I do, with
Good.
our forecast.
You know, a lot of
do a
them are
lot.
on the other side of the building, like maybe we're in on the
Okay.
other side, they ride around the back.
Yeah.
I have some people who were looking, the Rotary Club is gonna do some benches, we have, like the Scouts did all the planting and stuff, so every year we're getting people more involved in trying to, you know, use it. I mean, I wanted Mr. Lynn to use our fields, I want anybody to be there, I mean, we want people to be there. I really hope that they are, and we're luckier than probably any of the other buildings, we have cameras. So if something happens there at night, we can see what's going on. You know, and so we had kids that were on the little kid playground on the other side, and there was problems, and we knew who it was, they were on the tape. So, you know, we're luckier than most, and where that's gonna be, hopefully the cameras are right there, so.
Roger, there's a lot of use at the Artie Wilson School with the playground. When I'm walking or running, which is very, very rare anymore, I do see a lot of kids use it. And you could probably elaborate more on this, is that we really don't have a destruction issue. And there's gonna be, not where we're,
Recently, we've had some issues,
oh, have we? Okay.
but not,
Historically, since we got that new
not,
set, we
not
haven't.
destruction. It's more minor vandalism and profanity and,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
we take
you're
care
always
of it.
gonna have
I mean,
People
we've
leaving
got those
trash.
issues,
Yeah.
but in terms of destruction, no, we don't have those issues. And the same with the basketball court. You know, that court is used pretty heavily at Wilson, and there haven't been any issues that I know of there. Every once in a while,
It's
somebody
not
takes
even
it right
right
across the grass.
It'd be nice to have playground.
I disagree on the court meetings heavily, only because I go by and I get frustrated that,
And
no
it's
wonder
not
why we're
used
not having any games, because the court's there, they have the lights, it's really nice. Nobody uses it.
It's a little controversial,
That is all I say.
it was designed
Just have a question,
outside
it's
the
not,
back doors.
when we built the Evergreen School, why was it a playground built at the
I
onset?
think it was.
There was one in the original plan.
There was.
And
It was one of the
cost-
budget items.
It was one of the
Cost,
budget items
yeah.
that was cut out.
I think
But
it
it's
is
Something in the settling of the dirt.
So hopefully you guys have it.
Bleachers and playground,
Oh,
and some of the
no.
parts of the building were cut down in size to get it to a.
Well, it would have been nice to have it, because I mean, we went through that
Yes.
entire process, and we have a basketball court in that gymnasium that cannot be used for any PIAA sports, because it's constructed the exact same way the Lake Ariel School is, with no corners. You can't use it for anything. You couldn't use the place.
That was the buildings and grounds superintendent that used to work for us, that was in charge of all that, and he did a terrible job.
Oh, I agree.
He did a terrible
I
job,
agree.
and we paid $2 million more for that building.
Can't use the court for
Then we,
anything.
then we borrowed for it. And that's where our fund balance ended up going, because we had to use money from there to offset the cost. He did a terrible job on that building, he ran up the tab on us, and we had to cut other things for the children, the playgrounds, and he did the gym wrong. Of all guys, he played basketball, he didn't know what the measurement for a gym, the guy was useless. And thank God he's gone, and thank God we're not putting him back on this board that he requested to be a part of again. He's terrible. He's terrible. He was terrible here, and he cost us a lot of money.
The question on the table is,
Yeah.
do you wanna do these?
Capital money and use the state in capital.
I think we need to get the numbers put together.
Yeah, they're working on it.
So
I
that,
mean, I have some playground numbers.
You guys are sold on Fords. Fords are usually more expensive.
It's a good point, David.
They don't hold their value.
Fords are expensive.
Yeah, I think we have to
Come on,
use
yeah,
the
you know,